Good evening and welcome to the NorthEnd Mayor's Meeting for February the 12th. Welcome to everyone. And before we commence, I wanted to do some administrative thing real quick. There are some folders back in the table back there that the sanitation department has put out, and I urge you to take some, and they are online also for your neighborhoods. It's very, very insightful and has all the guidelines for the neighborhoods and the yard pickup. Also, I've had many requests from people wanting to know who's what, who's where, what's going on. So back there, I printed the structure, the organizational chart for you to know, so you can have that readily available to your neighborhoods also. Mr. Bullard?
Yes, sir.
Take it away.
All right, welcome everyone this evening, February 12th, 2020. And we will be commencing. I am obviously not Captain Marchese, I'm Lieutenant Bullard, Road Patrol Division, NorthEnd Watch Commander. All right, every time, we cover the boundaries of the NorthEnd Division, and there they are. All right, the Part 1 offenses from year to year, there has been a significant increase in the Part 1 offenses, mainly due to the auto burglaries. You see the difference in the auto burglaries, and a lot of that subsided due to the ring that we caught that were coming up from Broward County. They come up in groups of 5 or 6 guys. They all get out, and then they all just start checking the door handles. They can cover more ground. So a lot of times we were showing up to locations, and there were, at times, double-digit number of vehicles that had been burglarized.
That might be it.
Yeah, that is it. This was a way more streamlined version of it, of what they wanted to issue out. So I got sent with
Okay, that's okay.
We will, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
We will distribute via email to everyone the more comprehensive version showing the different neighborhoods within the district.
Thank you.
That also should be still coming out with the COP officer that is assigned to your area. But I'm more than willing to answer any questions. I stay abreast of what's going on in the North End.
Should be on.
Bob Taylor.
Yeah, it is.
Just talking to it.
All right, thank you. Bob Taylor, North Shore Neighborhood. The only thing I wanted to reinforce is that the North Shore on 25th Street and Australian Avenue, that property is being looked at to be redeveloped. And the chief of police, and I think it was Officer Hammond, Daines, the CEP, not CEP, that was it SEPTED program?
Yes.
The police department is going to work with a developer, go through that SEPTED program. So I think that's, that's really a proactive tool for us to go through it. So I'm kind of bringing that up, and I appreciate you guys doing that. I think that will alleviate a lot of the concerns if the police department, we're being proactive. So I apologize, I don't have a question. I just wanted to reinforce that that's a good thing for us, and we appreciate it.
It's a very good comment, and I'm glad you made it. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Rick Green, Development Services Director. Bob, are you talking about the Majestic gas station on the corner? They filed an application Tuesday, just this past Tuesday, so they'll be going to our Plans and Plats Review Committee meeting next month. And certainly one of the things we look at are all the SEPTED provisions, so we'll make sure we do that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant Bullard.
No problem.
That was
Thank you.
easy. You got off really easy today.
Well, I've done 2 this week, so
Okay.
this
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
I'm getting a lot of practice, and I don't have a problem with it.
And you're doing a very good job,
Thank you,
Lieutenant.
sir. I appreciate it.
All right. There wasn't too much actually, there was nothing submitted for our code department, which is good because that tells me that the departments, the neighborhoods are going directly to their code enforcement, which is what it should be, okay? So if you can just give us an update of the cut and clean that you did and so forth?
Sure. Since the last, Mark Joyce, Code Enforcement, since the last NorthEnd meeting, we did 91 cut and cleans. Those are properties that we cited for overgrowth, and they didn't take care of it, so we sent in a contractor. They get billed for the property, for the cost of the cut and clean, and then if they don't pay it, it goes on their taxes. We also did 2 board and secures for open and unsecured properties and 2 B abatements. That's it, and we got a bunch of code officers with us, almost every one of them except Phil couldn't make it today, but every other code officer's here, and take any questions or comments you have.
Any questions for code? Denise?
Denise Pinewood Park. I was asking, I got the pamphlets, okay, who do I get more from?
Right there.
Okay, but you only had a supply, I don't want to take it from everyone.
Let's just take those, I can get more.
Okay, great, okay, thank you.
Supply from sanitation, the pamphlets. Okay?
Jose, I have one question.
Yes.
Carl Peterson, Northwood Harbor. You know, we've run into a situation which we had talked about where we have one property that really causes some concerns from a fire safety standpoint. And I know we typically don't have the fire department here, but in the future, if it, and I wouldn't expect them to be here every week because it is highly unusual that we would run into something like this, but we have. And it's been reoccurring, and we thought that in the future, as long as we give you a proper notice, could we have someone from the fire department here to just...
Well, in the meantime, if you can just send me the,
We have,
I can.
yes, okay.
yeah,
And we've talked to the chief, and she's taking care of it.
Good.
So
All right.
I think we're going to resolve it.
Okay, good, good.
Thank you.
Marion?
Marion Gross, Northborough Park. How do I find out about properties that are coming up for the code hearings?
We could, if you give me your email address, we have a mailing address for the agenda. We have like a group that we send the agenda to, and we'll add you to it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, and we get, there's a lot of neighborhood presidents that are on that list.
Yeah.
More than happy to send it to you.
Thank you.
And how far in advance do you send that out? Or-
It actually goes out the day before. I mean,
Okay.
because unfortunately, things are complying and getting added on till right to the last minute, especially like lien reductions, which people are qualifying for right up to the minute of, we try to close it on the Monday before, and they still hear, everybody screaming that they want to get on that next hearing for the lien reduction, but
Okay.
that's what, yeah.
It's a difficult, we've been through this before. People wait until the very last minute and they comply, and then they have to redo the whole thing all over again. So, and they don't want the people to waste their time coming for the hearing.
Right.
So they wait until the day before, so. And there's a lot of properties on that list. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
guys.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank
Keep up the good work, ladies and gentlemen.
See you guys.
The other thing was Northwood Harbor sent a list of items for engineering, and I gave it to them, and they said that they'd be more than happy. They're happy with what I gave them, so I'm not
I
gonna go through the whole list.
No, we're okay.
And then the other thing was, it was an item from NCON that came into us, and I believe Ms. David spoke with Kathleen today, and she squared away everything. And I think they'll have a meeting.
We do.
On the 26th. And the other thing is, I know that, I'm sure that the directors and the mayor is going to have, and bring this up to the directors meeting, they are complaining about employees from the city returning calls and not leaving their names and their extensions. So we need to bring that up and making sure that that happens. Because, I don't know, I always do.
Okay.
But we need to refresh everyone's memory that you call somebody and you tell them who you are and you give them your extension number.
All
So,
right.
right.
But I must say, I made a call yesterday to Joe Mingle, Street Lighting, and he immediately called me back. So,
He's really good.
Good.
good,
That's good to hear.
good.
Good to hear.
It did. It was very informative.
Good.
And
Let me address one of the items I think that was on the INCON list, which is the responsibilities of Tiffany David vis-a-vis Jose. For all of you who are external to the organization, feel free to call either one with your concerns. But internally, the thinking is that Jose, over the years, has built up significant relationships with the associations throughout the city. So he's more of kind of the institutional, homeowners associations, resident associations. You're making me look too old. No. So that line of communication falls under his, on his portfolio, because he's established it over through the few years. You've just been very effective at how you've done it. Tiffany is going to be working kind of outside of the bureaucratic, neighborhood bureaucratic structure. She is kind of to be spot on issues affecting the neighborhoods that may not necessarily fall within an association concern or something like that. For example, you may recall that shortly after I was elected, we initiated something called Operation Clean Streets, where we were going out to neighborhoods that had been plagued by illegal dumping, making a very conscious effort to clean that situation up, as well as removing abandoned cars and that type of thing. That came under, and she spearheaded that effort. Wasn't a particular complaint, or it may have been a series of complaints from neighborhood associations, but just general observation showed that was an issue that affected a number of neighborhoods that needed to be resolved. So that, and again, but for you, if you've got a concern, a question, call either Tiffany or Jose. We will address it internally. But within the organization, that's kind of the distinction between the two. She has more of a comprehensive look at neighborhood issues going forward, and then Jose will continue to work with these meetings and others from the bureaucratic structure. But I don't want you to feel like you've got to figure out, well, is this a Jose situation or a Tiffany situation? Call either one, or call me. And the intent is, for citizens, I want you to have multiple entrees into the city to get your concerns addressed, your questions answered. I don't want you to have to try to figure out who the appropriate person is. We're working on one of the projects that Tiffany is working on is really beefing up our 822 system, right, and making that a lot more responsive when we're looking at different technologies around and that type of thing. So once we have that up and going, and we do have a new website, and I invite you and encourage you to try that out as well for logging complaints. But once we have that, I want there to be multiple entry points where individual residents, you don't have to go through your neighborhood association or resident association, you come straight to the city, can register complaints, ask questions, and we will have a very robust system of getting back to you. All right? So hopefully that explains it. But as I said, from your perspective, don't try to figure out whether this is appropriate for Tiffany or appropriate for Jose. Make the call, send the email, and it'll get routed to the appropriate person for a response.
And to Jose's credit, because my experiences have been with
Absolutely,
Jose,
and that's fine.
Jose has always
Yes.
returned calls, been extremely responsive, and I, as a resident, appreciate that.
thank you.
You're
No,
welcome.
he's very good at what he does. Absolutely. And it wasn't meant in any way, when I appointed Tiffany, it wasn't meant in any way to reflect negatively on his experience.
Right.
But it's really to expand, in my view, as the incoming mayor, to expand the customer service capabilities of the city. Okay?
And that's why because I've had questions of what department is where and everything, so that's why I printed this, so that everyone has it. And this is online on our website, okay? Wendy, you want to say a couple words?
Good evening. This went quick. Did you guys kick the police
No.
out? What happened?
No, it was short and sweet.
They had a condensed version of their report.
Very good. So we're here to talk about a couple of things today. And I wasn't prepared to be this quick because I'm not used to the meetings going as fast as all this. Sorry, I apologize.
But you should be quick, because I hear a rumor, and then obviously we can't, that there's a fundraiser for a
Yes.
certain city commissioner going on, that some of these people may be interested.
Yes.
I heard the rumor, so there may be people who are anxious to get out of here.
Get out of here. I gotcha. Okay, good. Well, here comes Leah, because Leah's going to talk about the parks
Oh,
bond.
yes.
And I'm here as well. Your park, our parks, our city, our future. So, Leah, you want to speak about that, and then I'll let you. You came in at the right time. That we keyed you right up.
Good evening, Leah Rockwell, Director of Parks and Rec. How are you guys today? The Parks Bond, we're really excited that we have this opportunity. So I'm going to give you a really brief history. So back in 1997, the city put together a strategic recreation plan. From that plan, instead of it sitting on the shelf, they did a bond referendum in 2000. That bond referendum really allowed the city to bring that plan to life. So we did a lot of park renovations throughout the city, and it was $20 million. And that bond sunsets in 2020, which we're in 2020 right now. So in 2015, because our master plan was from 1998 to 97, it was time to have a new parks master plan. So we went out to the community and we created a new plan by hearing from residents all over the city. And so that 2015 plan is now not sitting on a shelf, it's being worked. We're working that plan. We have money that we received from the Public Works bond that we started making the improvements that the master plan said we needed to make. But there are well over $30 million worth of renovations and improvements for the parks that the master plan really targeted and felt that we needed to do. So here we are, 2020, the 2000 bond is sunsetting, and we've got $30 million worth of renovations and repairs that the master plan recommends. So we are asking our citizens to consider renewing their 2000 mills, their mills from the year 2000, and continue to pay those mills to do $30 million worth of parks improvements based on the master plan. So we're really excited about this opportunity with the sunsetting of the 2000 park bond and it being 2020 and that master plan just ripe for us to really get those parks improved. So do you have any questions? Yes, Bob.
Bob Taylor, North Shore neighborhood. I think our neighborhood, I know I do, and I know most of our neighbors support it. There is a list of parks, and we just want to make sure it's distributed equally. But I also appreciate. I'm jumping around a little bit. I appreciate you guys being proactive and getting this done. I think what would be helpful though is we could use some flyers or some kind of data to do. So I know you're going to do I know you're going to do real marketing, but it would be good for our neighborhoods and other neighborhoods to do some grassroots marketing. And I don't think you should put down which parks are being improved, but you could just give us something that's generic so we don't upset anybody. But if we just had like a flyer that said, hey, these are some of the things that you were doing, that we could talk it up, because we're not going to make these, we need to get out and vote and support it.
So
already have it.
And also, we have to be careful as a city
Good
that
idea.
we aren't advocating for it with city resources.
I didn't know that.
But no, I think that they have some.
We can educate.
So, yeah, we can educate. We can educate, but not advocate. So the information we're giving you is just for education purposes only.
Right. So all the materials that we have are about really getting you out to vote, for you to decide whether or not the improvements to the parks is something that you support. And the really key element is that we're not increasing your taxes. the mills are the same mills that you're currently paying. So that's what we're asking, is just for you to continue to pay, that we're not increasing taxes. But we do have lots of materials, and we'd be happy to get you more.
Okay.
Armando?
Yeah, Armando Fon, Assistant City Administrator. So we've got a bunch of materials that we just got approved this week. So I'll get with Jose to make sure those get distributed. We're also going to be at Curry Park this Sunday. There's a concert at the waterfront. I hope everybody can go there. It's going to be a great event. And we'll have a table set up where we're going to be distributing information on this and on the census, but also starting to get feedback on a couple of things. One is the golf course, because we want to get feedback from all of our residents throughout the city on what to do at the golf course. And some of you maybe have seen that. I think Jose sent. So you can
I sent it out.
You can do it through email, but you can also do it there in person. And we're going to start to get some feedback on Curry Park, just a very broad, high level, what folks would like to see potentially at Curry Park. And should this bond pass, we would have a significant amount of money to invest in Curry, much needed, because it's kind of been I wouldn't say an eyesore, but certainly an untapped jewel.
I would agree.
Denise?
I still have a concern for my neighborhood, the park that's in our neighborhood that's next to the Boys and Girls Club, that is not named. And I understand you got funds coming from it, but I need an update. I need to feel good.
So we did include some money for the park that sits on Pinewood. We've been calling it Pinewood Park, even though that's not a technical name for it. We would love for the community to come to us with some suggestions of names for the park for us to bring to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, for them to help us come up with a name, and then bring it to City Commission for them to also approve a name for that park. But that we do have funds in the bond to do some improvements in that park itself. The playground's going to be replaced. We want to either replace or do a major repair on the pavilion. The basketball courts need some work. So yeah, we definitely have some repairs that need to happen there that would be a part of this.
And I also just had a meeting with the folks in the RISE initiative yesterday, and they are wanting to participate in that effort, so there potentially could be some private-public partnerships to improve that park as well. But we'll have to get past this election.
Okay. Now, that was not my understanding from the very beginning. My understanding was that you said that the money for our park won't be able to come from the bonds money. It wasn't included. That's why we was not listed. It was coming from some other source.
I believe there was some money that was budgeted already. There was some
Yeah.
improvements that were already made. There's some money that's budgeted, but to make the enhancements that we'd like to make, can you confirm that the?
Yeah, I think, I don't
I
know.
know it
Is
was
this
not,
the
it was
website?
No,
Okay. So the playground absolutely is included in that money. It just may not say Pinewood Park, but, yeah. We'll see if we can pull it up for you.
Okay,
If not, you
Yeah,
can
but
send it to
Denise,
us.
we can definitely talk offline, and I agree with you. There needs some TLC at that park that needs to happen.
Yeah.
But
We're
but
holding our own, but at this time, it's way overdue. And I keep hearing we're giving monies, on $1,000, $10,000 is not gonna do it if that's the money you're talking about.
oh, no.
Okay,
no.
all right, let's make sure we're clear, because I done been through that banana peel
Just,
before.
just to give you an idea, playground replacement, especially if we add a shade structure to it, but if there's not a lot of shade around the playground as it is, like at Echo Lake, they've got a lot of trees that are close to that playground, so we may not put a shade structure over it, but where we need to, those playgrounds run us around $225,000. So it's not a $1,000 fix, it's a many $1,000 fix.
Right, so you all haven't reached out, but you're waiting on RISE to reach out to.
We just talked yesterday. Yeah.
Right, so, because we kept asking about this organization that put in free playgrounds, they asked for community help, that's all they asked for. And,
We can talk offline, because many of those free playgrounds aren't really,
There's no such thing as a free lunch or a free playground.
well, regardless, I want to see something done.
I understand that she'll talk to
Okay.
you offline.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that we talk to you offline with that to make sure you get
Soon.
improvements. Yes,
Like today.
absolutely.
Hello, I don't know if I want to bring up a park about Gaines Park. Y'all supposed to be some improvements made in 2018. I went to a meeting and they had some architects. Is any improvements going to be made to Gaines?
Okay, so you're talking about the community center itself, because we've just been putting a lot of money into the athletic fields and getting those up and
Yeah,
running.
this was inside of the structure.
Okay, so the structure, the community center itself, we are at 30% design on the community center. In order for us to move forward, there's money in this bond to fund the project as a whole. So we have some funding, but because the community asked for something more than what we had the funding for, we have included that it's additional funds as a part of the bond.
Okay.
So that's where we're sitting right now. We can't go out to bid with the current plans without knowing if this bond is going to pass.
Okay,
So
thank
we're
you.
waiting for that.
Carl Peterson, Northwood Harbor. Liam, one of my concerns is for the parks in our area, most of them are along the water edge. And when you're along the water edge, you have seawalls and docks and everything. I just wanted to make sure that in some way we could distinguish between what I would call maintenance and getting some play structures and other things for our parks, because we have an influx of a lot of families with a lot of kids, and I don't want, we might be getting $200,000, but it's going into a concrete seawall, and we see nothing for the families. So
I saw that you had sent that concern, or somebody had said that concern. We can certainly take a look at that. I know that we did set aside a small amount of seawall repair money in the engineering budget. We can take a look at that and see which of our seawalls at Brian Chappelle and Gettler need some attention. We just redid the seawall at Osprey,
Osprey, yeah.
so it's in great condition.
it is.
All right.
Any other questions? So please remember, March 17th, you decide, Parks Bond.
And the next meeting will be April the 15th.
I think Wendy still has
Oh.
some.
I just had a couple
I'm
more
sorry.
things. I have to do the 2020 census. Let's see here. So we've been talking a lot about this lately, but I just wanted to make sure to bring this forward to you. Basically, we count every 10 years. It's federally mandated that everybody should be counted. And for the 2020 census folks, they estimate each city receives about up to $2,000 a year per person per year. So for everybody that's counted, that represents about $20,000 to the city for money for things like education, engineering, roads, sidewalks, all of those kinds of things, the healthcare district, things that are really important. So we've been doing a lot of community outreach. I have some flyers in the back about the 2020 census. There's some little booklets there for you to be able to share with your neighbors too, because maybe when you're talking about the Parks Bond, you can also talk about the importance of making sure you get counted. I think the ballots and the things are going to start going out sometime mid to end March, and then it's really where you live on April 1st that you should make sure you're counted. They're also offering jobs. At 2020census.gov/jobs, I think they're paying $17 an hour for folks from the neighborhoods to be able to count, because they feel like in some of these instances, people from the neighborhood would be better served to help us get those numbers up, and it's a real important thing. Did I cover everything this time, Mayor? Better?
I think so.
No, you did a very good job, as you always do. The one thing I do want to point out are just the numbers, and this is so important. We rely upon the census to get federal funding, and the estimate is that for every person that is not counted, that costs the city $2,000 a year for 10 years. That's $20,000 during the course of the census. So it's so important to get each and every one of us counted in our city. It has fiscal implications. Also, the congressional districts are determined by the census, and with Florida being a growing state, with our county being a growing county, it can mean the addition of at least one congressional seat. So there are a number of implications that flow from an accurate count on the census. So please tell your neighbors, friends, to respond to the census.
And the last thing I want to talk about is to kind of piggyback a little bit on what Armando said about the golf course and the engagement. You know, Mayor James has really doubled down on this community engagement piece and us coming out to where you are when you're out in the neighborhood, like at an event on Sunday on the waterfront, to do some of these engagements. We're also testing some tools like this online tool that Jose sent out. And if you go to www.polco.us/WPB, the only survey right now there at that site is the golf course survey. And we're trying to get feedback from everybody across the city so that nobody feels like they haven't had a voice in some of the decisions that are being made here. And I think we're all trying to double down on our efforts to make sure that everybody has an opportunity, whether it's to send Jose an email, to make a phone call, to do a survey, so that we get all the feedback from the residents that we possibly can. So.
And that we capture it.
And we capture it so that, yeah, because one of the criticisms we've had recently about the golf course is all the charrettes and all the community engagement that's been done that nobody really captured and gave to our decision makers, which makes it very difficult for them to be able to articulate the direction that they want to take the city because the numbers aren't there for them. So.
And this is so key because everyone doesn't have the time, they can't fit in their schedule to show up at whatever the public meetings are or whether it's commission meeting. And so this is really us taking advantage of technology. We do have safeguards in there so people can't vote multiple times. We're making sure that they're all registered. And what are the other
Not to be
safeguards?
registered voters, but we can see the percentage of registered voters. and,
Okay.
yeah.
Do we have a backstop to make sure they are residents of the city at least?
Yes.
Okay. So this information, we want people to take advantage of the technology to give us feedback. And I'm excited about it because now rather than relying upon the folks who show up, at city commission meetings and, I represent the neighborhood, well, now we'll get the real data as to what the neighborhood really feels like, and no one person can say that they have an exclusive monopoly on the opinion in their neighborhood, and it's easy, right? I mean, and folks can do it from the comfort of their home. So this will help us make better, more responsive decisions as your local government.
Wow, that's a good tool.
Will you consider Curry Park in the future on a survey like this?
Yeah, we're trying to test it because
Yeah.
we're not really sure it's going to meet all the requirements. So before we really double down on the financial investment in this particular web base, we want to make sure it's working and it's working properly. We will have paper surveys about Curry out Sunday afternoon, and we'll make sure that we send that to Jose so he can blast that out to all the neighborhoods as well.
Yeah, we plan on using this for multiple things, especially projects that are coming up in the city, and it gives us the data, which is what we need.
And assuming that that we continue to use this particular tool, you'll be able to register so that anytime we have a kind of call out to opinions, you'll get that information, you'll be able to opine. Sometimes it'll just be a particular neighborhood, and we're just doing like a project that impacts just that neighborhood, then we can actually target it just to the neighborhood. But when it's citywide, you'll be able to get and opine on that.
That's going to be a powerful tool for us because one or two loud voices, a lot of people don't have the time to participate, and the majority is not always reflected. A lot of times it's a minority of people with the loudest voice, and it's hard for the people sitting on the dais to work through, work through it, so that's why you did it. I didn't know about this. I'm very appreciative. I got to give a shout out to Wendy. She comes to my meetings. She helps us out.
Yeah.
And I want to thank the mayor for giving us good people to work with, so I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next meeting, April. Thank you.
Thank
Safe
you.
drive home.
You too?
Or hustle over to whatever event you might be going to after you leave here.
Oh, April 15th is tax day.
Just say it.
So you may not see me, you will hear.